Good morning. I beat you to it.
You did.
Yeah, I'm perky today.
That's good. Again with the same color shirt. Do you know I had a blue shirt on and I changed it?
And do you know that we are telepathic?
Telepathic connected.
Yes.
All right, we got a special episode today. It's the election edition. Did I put the election edition or did I do the election episode? The GLVAR election episode. Here we are.
First of all, thank everyone that's running because it takes a lot and it shows commitment to run.
Yeah.
So we thank all candidates for putting your name out there and that we have a choice rather than we have to drum up people to run.
You know, I put this after this was a post from 2015 after I went through my wonderful election, for those of you who remember. I put regardless of the motivation. The reason why I said regardless of the motivation is some people run for different reasons, right?
Absolutely.
Some people run for ego.
Fame and fortune.
Some people run for the title, which if you're running for the title, you got a surprise coming.
You bet.
It is work. So, but regardless of the motivation, I will always respect people who are willing to steer the ship, take the hits, and stand up and lead. Because not many people nowadays are
Well, that's a lot of
stand.
warning because they're going to take the hits too.
Yeah, I mean, you got to have thick skin. I joke, I mean, I gained like 30 pounds, 40 pounds from 2015 to 2018 during the 3 years of being a president. And I joked that I had to be bulletproof. So I needed that extra weight from all the haters.
Yes, it's like the people up in the snow. What are they called? The ones that have to gain that extra fat.
Eskimos?
Eskimos. You have to gain the extra fat to protect you from the cold.
Eskimos.
In this case, you have to gain the extra fat to protect you from the arrows.
Plus all those dinners and lunches at Mastriani's and at Fleming's.
I must have missed every one of those in my
Kidding.
presidency.
It's basically Capriati's and Jason's Deli all the time for those of you who think we're wasting the money. I also put the score may determine the outcome, but you sometimes win just by having the courage to show up to the game. So regardless of who we support, I got to put it out there like you said. Kudos to you for standing up and leading because not enough people are willing to do that in today's society.
And all leaders, no matter who we support, doesn't mean we hate you and we don't expect to hate back because some of these take these endorsements as personal and the endorsements should be for the good of the board. I have 10 years in and Dave has 6 years in, so we have been doing this quite a while and you want your board to be run as great as possible and for them to lead us, because it's our membership money, as well as possible with our dollars. So that is why we picked the people we picked, and in no way does it reflect negative against anyone that we didn't endorse.
So before we go into the theme, which I think is going to be important because I believe in this, and this is one of my, even after 5 years on the board, one of my pet peeves, we're going to just jump right into our endorsements, and we're going to start with one of our own. Unfortunately, Shanta could not be here today. She's also running for the director position, and she's part of Urban Nest.
I think she's at Women's Council.
Is she at Women's Council? Is it already right now?
I think it is.
We're going up against Women's Council?
Yes.
Sorry, Women's Council. So let's start with Karen Smith. Have her come on in. The hot seat.
Don't tell her it's the hot seat. First of all, first thing I want to say about Karen as she sits down is she's been going to all the NAR events on her own dime. That shows immediate dedication, commitment, everything to what she wants to do, because most of us are funded, but not you. You went on your own money. So whenever I saw you there, I really respected the fact that you were so committed and so involved that you were coming to the conference and to DC, all on your own money to show how involved you wanted to get. So kudos to you, because probably half of those people that are running that never ran before never went and did what you already put in. So kudos.
Thank you.
So give us a little bit of an idea of your involvement so far. I mean, I know global you've been involved with, right?
Yes, I've been involved in GBC for the last 3 years. We went to Greece last year. We're going to go to New Zealand this year.
Bless you on that flight. It's not a short flight.
No, not at all. I've been involved in the political affairs committee for the last 2-3 years.
Okay.
I did YPN for a year and a half.
Did you age out like me? No,
There's
okay.
no such thing.
No, we know that you don't want. No, go ahead.
Well, it's just kind of amazing because when I was initially started with YPN, somebody had told me that not to join because it's for people 40 under 40.
Yeah.
And then I talked to Stephanie Dibbs at the time, and she was like, "No, anybody can join," and blah blah blah. And it was actually an eye-opening experience, and it was very great. And I'm glad that I did that.
It's great exposure to the younger realtors and see their point of view. And again, respect you for getting in there because it's a totally different perspective from, let's say, quote, the old guard. So it's a good perspective.
Well, there's a good mixture because the old guard knows how it used to be, and they have certain standards on the way that they dress and the way that they speak and what they do and don't do. However, sometimes the old guard doesn't want to catch up to the new, and you need the new people to actually teach you the technology and to move the industry forward. So I feel like you can learn a lot from the past, but you can definitely learn a lot from the new people coming into the industry and what they believe in and what they want and the new technology.
It's funny you say old guard and new guard because I consider myself the new guard for a long time, and I'm probably the old guard now, right? I mean,
Well, here's the great news. No matter what we are, Karen and Shanta are going to run and hopefully win, and they have the two of us to roll off of for history.
they can, you.
Me.
I'm just kidding.
I'm history, 10 years, so they could say to both of us, Dave and Dave, how was it then? They could roll off and get the past. We're not shaping the future, obviously, on the local level. I am on the NAR level next year, NAR level, but we have that history that we're well willing to share. Hopefully, if the members realize that new blood is a great thing.
Oh, it is, but you have to have the training for the new blood that's coming in. You can't just, this is a business and it's a profession, and it needs to be treated as it's a profession and not just a sidekick or a hobby.
Well,
The interesting thing about the way it works, do you on a committee before you started?
I was on,
Can't even remember. So
I was on political affairs, but I was also on grievance for 2 years.
Oh, that's right.
Before I
That's
went
how you
on
got
to
it.
the board.
And I was on YPN and in Global. Those are my two. And you get kind of territorial first about your committee. That's how it's got a natural progression. This is probably a bad metaphor, but I always say it's kind of like being like a teenager. You know what I mean? Because committees getting money to spend, and they get this independence, and they want to do all these things, and then the big bad board is always telling them, stop doing this, you can't do this, you can't spend money. But it's a great kind of, what's the word I'm looking for, test or practice for getting on the board, because you learn how to do all the motions, you learn how all the committees work, you basically learn how to move something forward and plan through. So that's probably the biggest progression you're going to see.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The great part of getting new people on the board is you get new, refreshing ideas, and they tend to think out of the box because you don't know what the box is.
Yep.
And that's the beauty of if you and Shanta get running and succeed, because you'll bring some new and refreshing ideas, and we always need new, not to be stagnant. So you two, Shanta has a great history in a lot of committees, and president of her group right now, so she brings a lot to the table there. And then I think you bring a lot to the table by being that person that's running that went to all these NAR events, because no matter what, they are our parent company and we follow their rules, so you have a greater understanding besides being on your committees of what it is on the United States level rather than just the little Las Vegas level.
Yeah, but I think a fresh perspective is very much needed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a saying that Nobu Hata always says that every time someone says, this is the way we've always done it, a baby puppy dies. Because he jokes, because that is like the worst thing a committee or a board or a company can say, this is the way we've always done it, right? And I think when you have the same people over and over and over again, not challenging the status quo, not challenging the way that they do it, and starting to take a look at some other options, that's when things get stagnant and things get stale. And you know.
Well, not only that, things change. So something that, if somebody's been in a position for a long period of time or on a committee for a long period of time, they might say, we've tried that, it didn't work, you know, it's old, whatever. But you have new people coming along who haven't tried that. So it might work for those new people coming along, and it's the way you phrase things and it's how you do things that actually make a difference, that want to get people involved and want to get people to help you.
Yeah, I completely agree. So, having limited knowledge, hey Dan, can you see what that blonde one? Tell her. Sorry about that.
Usually I ADD and ask, but now it's Dave's turn to be looking through the office.
No, there's just someone that was like, I didn't think should be here. Not knowing what happens, let's say from the beginning of a meeting to the end of the meeting, keep that in mind. What would you say is a good, maybe just from the outside looking in, as things that you could maybe that we can improve upon, things that you would like to focus on? Is there anything that is just like so important to you? Like your main issue.
I'd say my main issue would be getting more real estate professionals involved in the actual community, not in the sense of like helping your neighbor, blah blah blah, but getting them to get involved in the political affairs committee or the YPN or anything affiliated with real estate and GLVAR. It doesn't matter if you're just in one thing, but you learn so much if you just join one group, any group, as opposed to just going to the office every day, grinding it out, and you know, repeating the same thing over and over again. It's a huge benefit. I don't think a lot of people understand that. I think there needs to be some type of standard involved, because the information you put in the MLS is only, what you get is only as good as the information you put into the MLS. And if you want to stop Purple Brick or Redfin or whoever,
We don't want to stop them.
well, not stop them, but if you want
Compete.
to,
Well, compete.
right, you have to raise the bar.
Right.
And I think that's our biggest thing, is like, we are, a lot of agents just come in, and a lot of brokers are just, it's about getting the deal done, how much commission can you make, how many deals can you do, and it's not actually looking at the client as a intelligent consumer. You try and throw things under the rug or do anything you can to get the deal closed.
So you're saying
And
professionalism.
people want, yeah, I mean, people, your consumer is intelligent, and you need to treat them like they're not just another number in your statistical book. They are actual, you're not selling a Verizon cell phone or a Sprint phone, you're selling a home.
So you're saying a commitment to professionalism, which is an issue that we are absolutely dealing with on, it's just it's a battle, but yes, I agree. And I don't know if you saw the theme. Our theme was we need to stop focusing on membership growth and start focusing on the growth of the member.
I mean, if you want to have 15,000 members, okay, that's totally fine, but then you need to have 75% of those members being efficient, knowledgeable, and working with the consumer in an intelligent manner. Otherwise, you're just hindering our industry and giving us a worse reputation.
Agree more. I mean, I agree. Do you remember? I'm having a hard time remembering when the voting starts.
It's September 17th to the 19th.
So September 17th to the 19th.
It's a short window.
We did that. It's almost the Dave Tina rule because.
Yeah, mine was like a month of voting. It felt like.
So was ours, and it just was so long. But it's a quick one. We support Karen wholeheartedly. We think you do a great job. We really do.
Thank you.
And you want to ask for everyone's vote? You got 5,000 people on here, so.
I would greatly appreciate your vote for 2019 Board of Directors at GLVAR.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, now you got to meet Karen. Unfortunately, I think Shanta is at WCR, and thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Karen.
You are welcome.
Urban Nest, we will vote for Karen. I hope the rest of you out there vote too.
Okay, so let's jump in to our actual who we're supporting. So you want to start from top with president down to the director positions, or do you want to go up?
I really don't care.
All right, let's start with the director positions. Now we're just going to highlight some of the people that we think would do a great job. If we left you out, it's definitely not personal. Right off the bat, I see Stephanie Grant on here. You know Stephanie. We got to know
Dynamo.
We got to know her well. I don't even know if she knows we're supporting her. She was relatively unknown on the YPN. I think she was appointed by Chris as vice chair of YPN when Azim was the chair. You're right? Azim was the chair because I appointed him.
Yeah.
And now she's the chair of YPN. Intelligent, vibrant, positive. I mean, when you look for the qualities of a board director or a director, I think she would be
Up and coming.
Yes. So
Bring a lot to the table.
I think Stephanie would do a great job. Obviously, Shanta and Karen, we support our own. Tim Kelly-Kieran, TKK, I've been on the board with him a while. You have a lot of loud voices on the board, and you really need some people who just take a step back. Were you on the board with Tim at all?
On the state board, not on the
Just on the
local.
state.
That's why I said you go with that.
And Tim's pretty good.
No, I love Tim.
He's really
great
good.
Guy.
Yeah, you need like a calm voice of reason on any board.
When all the other screaming banshees are there, you
Yes.
need that calm voice of reason.
Which, not a little aside, you think it's a good old boys network, but really the board passionately debates almost every potential issue. So it's not like we make a vote and it's one voice and we move forward with it. But there is some very heavy debate. And what's nice about Tim is he takes it all in and then he gives his opinion. And sometimes it's really at the right moment when you need some perspective. So I think Tim would do a great job. He is already on the board, so he would be repeated. Got some other great people you read. She's fantastic. Marcella,
Marcella's property management, Myrna Kingham,
Randy's
past president. That
Myrna, yeah.
It's like recycle, but it's past president.
Yup. You really can't go wrong with this slate. My biggest thing is always leave them better than you found them. It makes me feel good that it's going to continue on.
You're not going to be on this board.
Look at me. So happy.
You definitely have to realize when it's time to move on and move up, because now you're trained and you should be able to maybe move to the state or maybe move to national instead of stagnantly staying on the board.
Well, you and I were kind of unicorns because we both did
Fast and Furious, the movie.
And not only that, not a lot of owners of companies have the time or even put in the time
inclination for a free
to volunteer.
Yes.
Exactly. I mean, we're giving up a lot of time. So my father and I think we're two of the only ones. Normally the progression is it's a 2-year term for director, and usually they'll do like a 2-year term, they'll go for a second 2-year term, maybe in the 3rd year they'll run for an executive position, which would be treasurer or vice president, and then after being on exec, they then will run for president. So it's probably like a 4-year process before you even run for president, and the president is a 3-year commitment because you're president-elect, president, past presidents. You're on the board like 7, 8. Some people are on the board for like 10 years.
Yes.
Right? Some people have been on the board when you started to when I ended, like Jen.
Yes.
Right?
We were 5 years.
Yeah, so my father and I had something common. We did our 2-year term, which is minimum term you can actually do
To run for president. And in the 2nd year, we ran for president.
We ran for president, and we were in and out in 5 years.
Fast and furious.
Thank God. I don't know how you do more than 5 years.
You pace yourself.
Yeah.
And then state, and now fortunately for me, I am going to be the regional vice president for NAR for our region 11 in 2000.
So it's kind of like the Hunger Games, right? There's like 13, how many districts? It's 13 districts. It's exactly the same. And each district, so our district has what, 6 states or 5 states? It's Nevada.
6 states.
You know, even when I say Nevada to this day, I want to say Nevada.
I know, because
it's just
we're
in
from
New York. Yeah. I still think Nevadans say it wrong. I just think it's like a hippie Nevada thing.
We'll correct it.
All right, so Nevada, Arizona, Colorado, Wyoming, New Mexico,
and Utah.
That's Region 11. And he is basically, when you're an RVP, he is the president of that whole region, even though they call him the regional vice president. It's a big deal in the NAR world.
So for that, my salary is going to be $1,900,000 a year.
Yes. Yeah. So my following in my father's footsteps, as far as the state, has taken a little break. I am not going to be the state president anytime soon. So
you would be 60 pounds heavier if you instead of losing the 30, you just
it's that stress. I mean, as I get closer to the end of my past presidency, I just keep losing weight. I'm shedding the GLVAR just coming off of me.
And they were great years, you know.
We
laughed, we talked, but great years of volunteering, and we loved every second of it. And we still will be on committees and everything else.
All right, let's jump to treasurer. Treasurer, I think, is one of the toughest ones for me.
I hate the position because I hate the number game.
And the choice. There's 3 great candidates, Vandana, Bala, Sean Cunningham, and Mark Civic. I served with both Vandana. All 3 of them I've served with.
All 3 are capable of the position.
I have a good friendship with Vandana, but Sean and I have become super close in the last 2 years. And you could not get a more intelligent person. He's one of the people that, as I leave, I feel confident that if he's on the board, we'll be in good shape. I also think even if he doesn't become the person with Vandana and Mark, we'd still be in great shape. So you got a great group of people running for treasurer, wouldn't you say?
Tremendous.
Yeah.
Tremendous.
Okay. And then vice president, even if he was running against somebody, I'd be supporting him. Are you going to join us? Let's look at this ADD guy. Just phone. You know, like, you want to tell the story of when we took CE together, the only time we took CE together?
You could tell it. I was very pleasant.
Oh my God. So back, what is it, Realty Execs days? Back like in 2002. We took a CE together, and it wasn't CE. We were learning the new lockbox.
Yeah, it was terrible.
That was the first time you had the black lockbox and you put it in, right?
Right.
And we're paying attention. Well, I'm paying attention, and he's actually getting in trouble. And I'm like, why aren't you paying attention? He's talking to everyone in the room, which is totally you.
Totally me.
And I'm like, you're going to be asking me how to use this freaking thing. And he's like, yeah.
Your job.
My job. So when he's on the phone. So Vice President Aldo's running unopposed, Aldo Martinez. Again, one of the people on the board that I know, you always got to watch for agendas in life, right? And sometimes people maybe get clouded in their head and they come from the wrong position. With Aldo, I always know he's coming from a position where he feels like he believes in that it's the right thing to do. Whether or not I agree with him on every single thing, doesn't matter. Aldo is a man, I believe, of integrity, and he really cares about doing the right thing. So, and he puts in the work. I love Aldo. I think he's going to be a great vice president, and I hope he moves up to president next year. So obviously he's not running against anybody, but he's got our full support. Wouldn't you say?
Aldo is a great guy.
He's a sweetheart. Okay, and then another difficult decision, Tom Blanchard and Crystal Sherry for president-elect. We've known both of them for such a long time, both great people. But what's interesting is Tom Blanchard has been one of my greatest surprises as president. You were with Tom for a year or two, right?
Yep.
You've known him since God.
I knew Tom the day I moved into the city, and I was working for Caldwell Banker with Tom in the office.
So
always had a smile. Tom always has a smile.
So when I became president, I have an executive team, right? Just like you remember your executive team, or not?
Is this a lesson in I don't.
You don't remember?
No.
So my executive team was Chris Bishop was the president-elect, which Chris and I have a great relationship. Janet was the vice president, Janet Carpenter, great relationship. And the one I wasn't sure about, I didn't really know that well, and I didn't know how he would go, was Tom. I just didn't know him that well. And I knew there would be strength with me, Janet, and Chris. And Tom was an amazingly pleasant surprise. You know, he jokes a lot about things, but there's few people, if any, who actually read every single line of every bylaw, and he asks very intelligent questions, and he's not afraid to challenge the status quo. So as president and president-elect, Tom has earned my vote and my support in the last 18 months. I mean, I think he's ready to go. I mean, he's been treasurer for a couple of years in a row. He's at every single committee meeting, and he's got the time to do it, and that's a big thing. You know what I mean?
And the thing about Tom is he took the board and the dedication to be everywhere, to do everything, to learn everything, to read everything, to be involved, and I think importantly, not afraid to ask the questions that may make you look like you're difficult.
Yes, that's a big thing.
It's a big thing, and he'll do it with humor, but he will ask the hard questions. So as president, I think that Tom will not be a follower, he will be a true leader, and I think that's what we need in the association. Yet he has the knowledge now and the past knowledge of, he's on some major NAR committees, he's on some great state committees. I have never heard Tom say no.
Yeah. Well, he lives for it too.
Yeah, I've never heard him say, you know what, I can't do this. His answer is always yes.
And one of the things that I learned from him, and I think there's been a consistency for the last, we've been on the board 9 straight years. You've been on 5, and then I was on 5, and we overlapped 1, right? Is that, whether you like us or hate us, you know that we are going to ask the tough questions, and we're going to be fair. And I've learned that from you, that a lot of the times, the more difficult path is the right path. Mm-hmm. It's easy to take the easy way out and not kind of rattle the boat, but you got to ask the hard questions. And I think you've taught me. You've almost created a monster with that, but you have a much nicer way of going about it than me.
I'm more genteel.
More genteel. But it's very important on a board to have someone who's not afraid to challenge the status quo, challenge that this is the way we've always done it. So we got a great slate across the board. Those are the people that we have an affinity for, but regardless, I think we'd end up in a great spot. Now,
yeah, that being said, know that whoever wins on this ticket, there's not a bad candidate in the whole ticket.
No.
So that's the great news.
Well, maybe one, but
maybe one.
All right, so let's jump into what's going on with GLVAR. So as I'm walking out the door, there's a lot of things that I'm proud of, but there's a lot of things where I'm like, man, things still have to change. You think, it's like the more you see behind the curtain, the more you're like, oh my God, there's so much, you know what I mean? It's not like, you walk out of the position more at ease. I can only imagine what real presidents walk away knowing. I mean, how do they even sleep at night?
They don't.
So, the major theme that I want, and if I could give any advice to the people coming in as I walk away, is look at things from the growth of a member, not the membership growth. And I've heard it said way too many times that we're in the business of membership growth. And I think that is the zero-sum game. I from a company standpoint, from an association standpoint, just a life standpoint, I think that we are focusing on the wrong thing if we focus on the units, right? On membership dues. It's almost like government. I think we need to focus on the individual member and the growth of the member.
And it's true, and the state is going that way next year on legislative and everything else to make it not more agents, but the quality and the education of the agents and the brokers that are out there right now. We do a transaction and they say something went wrong and we go call the broker and they go, they are the broker. So we have people.
Or call the state legislative, or not state legislative, call the hotline, and you're not getting an attorney who knows what's going on down here in Las Vegas. Like, my biggest pet peeve is catering to the lowest common denominator.
And mine is when the other company is asking for a copy of the duties owed signed by both parties, which has been gone like 8 years, and it's not a big sin, but it shows me when an agent or a broker asks that usually they're doing no education. So my thing is raising the bar for professionalism and knowing at least the minimal part of your business that you're not doing it poorly.
Yeah, well, Julie made a comment. She's like, we can't control it. You know what I mean? Like, it's a good point. Like, how are we going to control the amount of agents? That's not controllable.
Making it harder making more education.
But that's not from a GLVAR level.
No.
That's from a state level. Requirements.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you had a magic wand.
But GLVAR we made the brokers' costs, that the brokers had to go to the cost for training as mandatory to make them better understanding of it.
And then the brokers lose their mind.
They did, but they went.
Yeah, I sat in one of those, right? Because I had to go represent, and the amount of people who are like, I shouldn't be in here, and then the questions that those same people were asking was scary. It was scary.
Which is why education is the key.
So if you had a magic wand, if you were the one in control of changing things to make it a higher standard, what would you do?
I would increase education, because the only way to make professional more professional is to educate them. So
when I was getting my Texas license, do you know how many hours you needed to be a broker?
How many?
600. 600 hours to be a broker. It's 90. Yeah. 600. I would also, would you raise the fees?
I don't want to say I'd price them out. I'd want to educate them out. And let me go a little deeper on that. If we raise the standards to have your license, how many people out there, they say, oh, you're a realtor, I didn't know. Oh, I like having it. I like cruising the MLS and seeing what's available.
I like houses.
Yeah, I like houses. And they don't ever sell. Well, if we raise the bar, the true professional, the true one working, will take those courses. But if we raise the bar and the people are just on the sidelines, they'll drop out naturally. So
it's kind of like being an attorney or being, God, even a teacher. You have to go through college. I mean, I've said this before and I'll say it again. It drives me out of my mind is that when I say, oh, I own a real estate company. Oh, I'm in real estate. It's like, oh, I used to be a realtor, right? I think I'm gonna do real estate.
Yeah.
You're doing so well. Like, that drives me out of my mind, because people don't say that about being an attorney.
No, it's money driven. They see the money and with the.
Well, attorneys make
No, but I'm just saying that if you make it
it's so easy to
harder,
do it.
exactly. So if you make it harder to get and to keep the license, the people that are on the wayside that truly are not practicing or doing it will get out of the business naturally. So rather than look for a big answer,
Yeah.
just raise the bar. And raising the bar will bring you that level of...
which would have to happen at the state, which would happen to have
Well,
go through
you know what?
legislative.
This year is great because Keith is going to be president next year of the state, and Kevin is going to be legislative chair. I'm legislative vice chair. Kevin Sigstad up in Reno. So, and Haiti's past president, and all four of us are on that same page of raising the bar. So don't yell at us when more education comes up, because the reason that everyone wants more education in leadership is because they see the issues that the agents are creating. So that's the reason we're going for more education.
Okay. If you're the CEO of a local association or GLVAR, this is I have my answer, but or the president CEO, you're a combo. What's your goals? What's your mission?
If I was the president or CEO of GLVAR,
Yep.
my mission would be, again, to make it as easy as possible for an existing agent to do their job by providing them the best tools possible, and then again to do as much education. I would be all over the education department to make it that the courses we offered were not pie in the sky, but every day deal with the business, what you need to learn and go.
Mm-hmm.
And I probably would increase the level of getting into being an instructor so that the people out there instructing us are highly qualified.
So you touched on something good, which I didn't even think of. Ease of use on all the things. So transaction desk, MLS, whatnot. Easy use. I mean, you got what you do, you got to do well.
You're
right?
there to support us.
Exactly.
I'm the CEO. I'm there to support the agent.
Then you brought up education, right? Which I think, here's my question, and be honest. You think we provide better education here in this office than the association?
I think that our education in the office is outstanding, and I think
More specific, right?
I think that I don't want to get it. I think that our training of the agents is more real life and professionalism. Knock on wood. That's why other companies say they love to work with.
But the reason where I'm leading you is they got to start getting education
Are
like
you
that.
steering me?
I am steering you
Okay.
because that's the thing. The complaint I get, and I didn't take classes at GLVAR, and the complaint I get is I take CE classes and the quality of the CE classes are just like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And so it's not just GLVAR, it's a state issue again, right? Who is actually teaching CE?
And that's why I brought that up, to keep the bar high on the CE, to keep them that they aren't truly recruiting while they're teaching. The level of professionalism. When I was president in 2013, so you guys know, and you could go back to any video of me, I never mentioned Urban Nest Realty, because as president, I was not the owner of Urban Nest. I was the president of GLVAR.
Yeah.
So
sometimes though the reporters sneak.
I didn't say the reporter may
Yeah.
not right, Dave Tina of Urban. I never brought it up.
True.
So
You wore the right hat. All right.
you wear the hat of the people, and that's what you need to do.
Today I'm doing an orientation. Let me answer the question I asked you. My goal, which you can only control so much of it when you're president, especially now that the MLS is
You're doing orientation today?
I am. I'll talk about that in a heartbeat. They're not going to like me at orientation. They never do. They do, but I'm kind of...
Well, you're real.
My goal was, if you did not have to join GLVAR in order to get the MLS, would you still join, would be number one. I'll ask you guys right now. If you didn't need to be part of the association in order to have the MLS, would you still join? Now, here's a caveat. There's other things. There's professional standards that you're probably not thinking about, which we'll get into. But my goal would be that the level of education, right, services, professional standards, which is basically mediation, arbitration, which is a lot cheaper than suing people. Just ask the commercial people. Code of ethics, that you're delivering like that business school, like College of Wharton, Harvard Business School level of education, that if you didn't have to be a part of it, you still would want to.
I would join 100%.
And depending upon the day,
I would join because even if it's a minimal value, there's a value there, and it's up for you to seek it out and to get involved. You know, when I put people on grievance, some people would say when I was the president, oh, you're supposed to pick the best or this. A lot of people I put on grievance were struggling in the real estate market.
Yeah, I went the other way.
And I put them on grievance to show them what was right or wrong.
So
there's committees all through what your passion is. So yeah, I'd still be there.
Yeah, and you know what? I would, but because I know that, for instance, professional standards, even though it's by far not perfect, it's still, I was just part of a mediation that really worked. But I've been part of an arbitration that was really done not that well.
I will say to you that with Wendy putting in the new staff,
Yep.
that professional standards is heading better than it ever has. And the training is there.
Because without professional standards, I believe there's no use to being. Professional standards is one of the pillars of why you would want to be a realtor.
Yes,
right.
I agree.
And we're one of the few businesses that self-police, right? So when you go to arbitration, mediation, there's a panel of your peers, which is supposed to be people who understand real estate at a higher level rather than just going to like a jury, right? So that is one of the things. Now, commercial agents who aren't realtors, if they don't get paid their commissions, if they have issues with each other, they generally have to sue each other, which when you sue somebody, the only person that wins is the attorney most of the time. So professional standards is a huge value add. RPAC.
RPAC, let's talk about it. Everyone says, why should I give the dollars? We made the dollars above the line that you didn't have to give to RPAC. Well, last year was our biggest year because of our wonderful tax bill. And don't start screaming Democrat, Republican because we're realtor. That tax bill would have destroyed our business if those RPAC dollars didn't keep the mortgage deduction in. The 1031 exchange.
Let's talk about how, now for you non-realtors out there, this is how your local realtors are contributing to your community. So this does apply to you. So local realtors are donating their own money, okay? Right? And what's happening is when they donate their own money, they're paying lobbyists to make sure that realtor issues, what are realtor issues? Community issues, homeowner issues. So one of the changes would have been if you sold your house after living in it for only a year, for instance, you pay capital gains. So right now the law is if you live in it for 2 years, out of five, you get a $250,000 exemption. So basically
$500 for a couple.
It's basically if you pay $250 for a house and you sell it for $500,000, you do not have to pay any taxes on that $250,000 you made, right? So you're not getting taxed twice. If you're married, it's up to $500. It's $250 a person, right? They were going to change it, so instead of 2 out of 5, so you have to live there at least 2 years now. You would have had to live there 5 out of 8 years.
8 years. Disaster.
So that would have really put a crunch on the market because people would have been forced to live in their house even longer because they would not have wanted to pay the taxes. That alone could have really hurt the housing economy. And my personal belief is that the housing economy is directly related to the health of our overall economy. Wouldn't you agree with that?
We proved that in 08.
So the realtor dollars, we were able to get into the conversations on Capitol Hill and get that changed. What else?
Oh, the mortgage interest deduction, being able to up to $750,000 of interest to take off your income tax on the board. We as realtors, and RPAC is where we contribute.
Melissa Zimmerman saying invest, of course. Invest into, right?
Invest, contribute. I don't care how you give me the money. If you're a realtor out there, RPAC is the support base of all realtors and all people for supporting what is right in real estate.
Yeah, and so those two things are huge pillars: education and the legislative arm of realtors. And we're the largest bipartisan,
The largest trade organization in the United States.
but we're also one of the top bipartisan lobbying teams.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what.
So what's interesting, regardless, this is the way I like to say it. If you are a Republican, right, 50% of your money is going towards Republican values or your issues. 100% of your money is going towards realtor issues. If you're a Democrat, 50% of your money is going towards your Democratic issues. 100% of the money is going towards realtor issues. So that's why it's so important with us as agents investing and reinvesting in not only in our industry, but in extension in our community. So those two things, education and legislative, those are the reasons that keep me having faith in the local, state, and national association. What would you say the third pillar would be?
The third.
Is there, other than education and legislative? Oh, we already talked about professional standards, right? So those are the three. So those three alone I believe make it still a good investment to be part of these associations. Now, this is where I'm going to get mean, Pop.
Uh-oh.
I still don't think they're doing a good enough job. Now, I'm the guy who walks into our company and he's like,
Yes.
Everything's good. And I'm like, we need to improve this, and that. Like, I'm never satisfied, right?
All right.
Because I always feel like there's always another level and there's always improvement that needs to be made. That being said, there's been a transition in associations around the country and state associations, and I believe from the top there needs to be more of a transition. And I believe that the national should be pushing. It's one thing to be like, we care about professionalism. Karen's saying it, right? I mean, everyone's saying it from the dues.
Money, of course, is the rule of how things get done, but I think we're moving in a positive rather than a negative.
All right, so even in the broker world, the company world, right? So every time we see people ask us what? Like friends, or people from other states, how many agents you up to now, right?
Yeah, that's the common.
Right? And when I say you're asking the wrong question, it's how much market share, how many transactions are you doing now? Because I'm more focused on the production and the results, not just the numbers. And I think that's the problem with a lot of the associations. Like, they're so like, oh, we're a mega board and we have 1.3 million realtors.
Well, numbers are numbers. Numbers is, our life is driven by numbers. So
yeah, I don't take that. I think
you're going the other way. I mean, reality is reality. Why do we talk about our iPhones and Apple? It's number driven. Why do we talk about anything? The numbers go up and then those numbers reflect. The trick of it is to talk about
the right numbers.
The right numbers, the right quality with the numbers. There's agents out there that other agents say to me, oh, do you know blah, 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 they're superstars. And I'll say, yeah, I was their broker, and guess what? They may be making all this money, but I got 9 million complaints that they weren't doing it right. So yes, success is great, but there's also such thing as doing it right.
Agreed.
So when they hear and we get another agent and they try to do something a little not quite right, I'm not going to say shady, and they say, who are your brokers? And they go, Dave and Dave Tina. They go, that's when we get an about us. You know why?
That's why we continually getting...
Yes, because they're going, because they know nothing illegal is going to pass through our company.
Oh, I agree.
And that is why.
I thought you were going a different direction.
No, I was going with that's why some other brokers that are trying to go on the offside don't
here's my point.
like
I
us.
had Jim Fong here when you weren't here, right? And we'd seen like the average realtor is making like 30 grand, 36 grand. After the money they invest or into their business, it was coming out to like 18 grand. If the average realtor,
good money.
If the average If the average realtor is making 18 grand, then the average realtor is desperate to get a deal. And if they're desperate to get the deal, when desperation comes into play, then you have potential issues occurring. And that's why
if you increase the cost of education, increase the edge of profession,
cost, yes,
that they're gonna turn around and say, you know what, for my 18 grand, now I gotta go to 70 or 80 hours more of school a year, and I gotta pay a little more, they're gonna bow out.
Even a bad attorney had the commitment of law school, the commitment of the bar exam, the commitment of that level. Even a bad attorney.
You started it, even a bad attorney. So even without a commitment, they could still be a bad
Of course, there's no perfect.
Education, that's
There's no
what
perfect.
I say.
So yes, I'm doing orientation today.
Good.
So the way orientation works, the current president usually does it, and then the president-elect, and both were unavailable, so I'm going. They're going to be like 300 people, 300 real estate agents, or 250, right around there, who are becoming brand new agents this month, getting released into the wilderness.
Yes.
And my conversation with them is going to be, statistics show that 87% of you will not be a realtor within 3 years.
And that's good, because the fighters sitting in the room
Will be motivated.
will say, I'm gonna be one of them. That.
Would you have said that? Of course you would
Of course I would have. I knew it from the get. But the people that are saying, oh, I'm going to do it part-time and see if I like it, you know, a year from now they may be out. But it's
Should
okay.
I tell them to leave the room and give their license back?
No, it's not.
I'm just kidding. All right, so good conversation. And here's the thing. These are the conversations that take place around the table in that room. And that's why the leaders that you choose are so important, because even though they don't make huge decisions, because a lot of it isn't in their hands, they make little decisions that all add up that will send us in a certain direction. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yes. And remember, NAR is the parent company of NVAR, of the state. The state, what rules they make are all filters down to GLVAR. So the decisions that the board can make will affect all of our future. So when you're voting, don't vote for your friend, vote for who you think will do the best job.
And who'll do the right thing.
Right.
You know, because that's the thing. I always say, the two most important things you taught me. Do the right thing and do the work. Because those two alone will get you in the right thing. And if you know the person that you're voting for is a person of integrity, that you know that it's gonna, and I'm gonna put Aldo on the spot because he is not running against anybody, and I firmly believe Aldo will vote against what's best for him if it's the right thing. And I think that's what you did fantastically. I would like to think that's what I did fantastically. You have to put what's right in front of what's best for yourself.
And an ending comment, the funny thing is about those two statements, if you don't do them both, neither one of them work.
I agree. They are completely
So
contingent upon each other.
if you do the right thing but you don't do the work, you're not going to be successful. And if you do the work but you don't do the right thing, you'll be successful to an extent, but in the end you will implode because you have to do the right thing.
Oh, without a doubt. I know so many people. It applies to real estate too, because you could, like you said before, you could do the work and be a hard worker and have no integrity. You don't live in a state of integrity, and it shows results, but no one wants to work with you. You could do the right thing, but you're not willing to do the work, so everyone loves you, but you have no results, right? So yeah, you can apply that to life. All right. Enjoy the rest of your day. Good luck. WCR started already. Are we positive on that?
No.
Yeah. WCR is having an event today with all the candidates. You can meet them there. So a shout out to WCR. And listen, there's only on average, about 2,500 people vote out of 14,000.
Sad. Just like the
regular elections, right? But don't think that your vote doesn't count. One of our presidents in the past won by 9 votes, right? So if you think about that, 5 people determined, because it isn't 9 people, because if 5 people change their vote the other way, it swings the whole election.
Right.
So you want to talk about every vote really counts? There's no gerrymandering in Las Vegas. This is, your
Yes,
vote.
and if you think it's
counts.
political, it's done by a computer, no one could see it.
Yeah.
It's come a long way. It started my year, and it is, no one even knows the vote. So
Yeah,
we're good to go.
You literally press the button and the results pop up. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a third party. It's fantastic. So that's it for now. Make sure you vote. Make sure you support your candidates, and we will see you next week.
Thank you.